Hey everybody, welcome to Jen Lowry Writes. Tonight
Hi.
I've got my friend here, this way, that way, writer Derosier. This is M. Michelle
Hey,
Derosier. She's joining
everybody.
me. And we're here to talk about why diverse books matter and reading engagement. So happy to have you. Grab your author friends, share it out with everyone. And we're going to share our screen and get started. So this is like a WWJ working session. So hopefully you guys can see the screens that we've been working on. So can you see them,
Perfect.
Michelle?
I can, Jen. See them.
Yay, yay.
Oh, yeah.
To get started, we got this slide. The slides come from Slides Carnival. So thanks to Slides Carnival for allowing us to use everybody to get online, go to their website, and you can download some pretty templates that you can create presentations for. So just a good tip there. All right. So
Good tip.
here I am. I'm Dr. Jennifer Lowry. I'm from Maxton and now live in Clayton. I'm a literacy coach and I teach English 1. I'm a homeschool mom. I'm a multi-genre author and a publisher, and I'm an author coach with the Writing Warriors for Jesus. And these are some of my latest creations for this year. But we are going to be talking about Kids Lit today. But Love Over Pizza did come out. That's my sweet romance that came out just a couple of weeks ago. So super excited about it.
Awesome. Hi, guys. I'm Michelle Derosier, writer Derosier on these internet streets. I'm from New York, Brooklyn, made in Haiti, bred in Brooklyn. I am a multi-genre author as well, and I'm also a diversity sensitivity reader to help creatives figure out how to tell an authentic story that is meaningful and respectful of diverse cultures. And like Jen said, we'll be talking about Kidlit, but just sharing a little bit of some of my work. My most recent is Accepting Elijah's Heart, which is a sweet romance that is out now, and excited for all of the great feedback I've received so far. And then Happy Harper Grandpa Comes Home, which I hope to be able to talk a little bit about in that process. And that is launching, God willing, National Grandparents Day, September 12th of this year. So cannot wait.
All right. So, where can you find me? So, I have a podcast, Jen Lowry Writes, The Right Amount of Grace. You can find me on Spotify, Google, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can go to the Anchor platform too and find me there. I also have a YouTube channel. So, if you're watching this on Twitch or Facebook on my author page, you can hop over to YouTube as well. We have Ann here. She's eating dinner right now, but she's chatting over on YouTube. So
Nice.
we are triple streaming tonight, and we're doing that in preparation also for our WWJ conference. So we're getting the hang of everything while we get to hang out with y'all. So go over and subscribe to my YouTube channel too while you guys are at it. And you can go all over the web at Jen Lowry Writes and connect with me.
And same as well, writer Derosier all over these internet streets, and come and say hi.
So today we wanted to talk with you about 3 topics that we love. The first one is that we wanted to share stories that matter. 2, how to help you honor your blank page. And 3, ways that you can engage with your readers in K-12 audiences. And it all started with Sweet Potato Jones for me and
Ruby Bridges for me.
And so Sweet Potato Jones is my YA contemporary. And of course, talk about
Ruby. Sure. Ruby Bridges is a 4th and 5th grade nonfiction for a civil rights icon series to introduce 4th and 5th graders to civil rights icon Ruby Bridges, who was the first Black child to desegregate in elementary school.
Yes. And so, why should we share stories that matter as authors? Stories that are not even our own stories, because books
Absolutely.
are like a powerful mediator between
Mm-hmm.
light and dark, and they do provide a safe place for children to have hope, to see possibilities. So that's why it really matters that authors champion books that
Mm-hmm.
matter to them. And that also means that we need to be engaging within that reader world. We need to be pulling K-12 books off the shelf like hotcakes. We need to just
Absolutely.
devour books within our
Mm-hmm.
genre. But it's not just about reading for ourselves and research, it's about sharing all of those stories. So that way we can connect with other readers. So, for example, if a reader meets me and they may not ever pick up Sweet Potato Jones, but if they pick up another book that I share, I feel like that I'm that person, that bridge that can help them find their next best story.
Absolutely.
So it might not even be about Sweet Potato Jones. It might not even be about any of the books that I write. But if I'm out on my platform and I'm using my platform as a writer for good, and I'm sharing stories that really matter to me, that might spark someone else to pick up their library card and go look for that book. Or on their next list, put that book on their list and go check it out. And so that's why I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's really important that we share as authors stories that matter. And so my favorite author is Kate DiCamillo. All of you know that know me. And I love this quote from her. She says, reading should not be presented to children as a chore, a duty. It should be offered as a gift. And
Absolutely.
I believe my library card was one of my greatest gifts as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very fortunate enough to live across the street from the library growing up. So I could head on over, run across, and just have a librarian who never filtered, never said, you can't go to that shelf, you can't do this. The door was open, and it was my magical place to live. And
Mm-hmm.
so I believe that I was a receiver of those gifts so many times through the library system in my life. And so hopefully, through this presentation, I can spark you to remember to promote your public libraries, to promote your school libraries as much as you
Mm-hmm.
can. That's
Absolutely.
just a great gift. All right. Tell me to stop talking about just this one quote. All right, so in the chat, so I know we've got Ann here. I'm actually looking at it on my phone to see the chat because Michelle, when I went to full screen, I can't see the chat either.
My
Um,
goodness.
so if you're watching this in real time, you can go into the chat right now, or if you're
Oh, I
keeping this
am
one,
seeing actually.
you're seeing it. Yay!
Yes. Woohoo.
Okay, go to your journal and start sharing books that matter to you when you were a child. And
Yes.
write them, type them as fast as you can. Just let that love pour out of all of the books that you can remember. And then make a list of what children's literature to YA books matter to you now.
Mm-hmm.
Because what can you do with that list, author friends of mine? So you can add to this, Michelle, but you can blog about those lists. You could video and share your books. You can hold them
Yeah.
up and say, you've got to read this. And you can share it out with the world. You can build your Goodreads and Pinterest pages. Um,
So
so
one,
many things.
yeah.
Oh,
No, I was gonna say one of the things that I've done that I found very helpful. So for my children's series, Happy Harper, the book that's coming out is Grandpa Comes Home around, and it's gonna launch on National Grandparents Day. So last year for my newsletter, I created this PowerPoint just like this with I don't know, over 15 books that were around grandparents and the relationship between grandparents. In the PowerPoint, we had grandparents. How do you say grandma and grandpa in like 8 different languages, and a little bit about that culture. And then I just presented it as a PDF that I shared with my newsletter, because just like Jen was saying, just because they're not necessarily reading your book first doesn't mean that you can't be sharing out other books. Like, that's one of my absolute favorite things to do, because let's face it, I can't write all of the books that you're going to love. I want to. So it's nice to know your audience and to know, well, if you like my work, you'll probably like this author as well and this author as well. And I know that my audience appreciates getting that, because then that just opens up their library and they're able to share it with their kids and their grandkids. And so I've gotten some really good feedback from that.
Love it. And ask people, what are you reading?
Mm-hmm.
Like, build your own list up, because there are so many of us out there that treasure books.
Absolutely.
And so, ask around, ask your author friends what's up with them, encourage them to do these things that we're sharing with you tonight. And let's just spread that love. So these are books for Michelle.
Oh my goodness. So I have such a hard time choosing books. And I don't have kids, but I feel like it's almost like asking me to choose a favorite child. But I wanted to take a snapshot of some of the books over the last couple of years, both as growing up and just more recently. So Anne Frank, to me, is a book that I will always treasure, because it is the book that allowed me to see that words can change the world. It was a gift from my 5th grade teacher, Miss Romaine, who said, "I know you love to write in your diary, and I know that's the way that you communicate with the world, because as an introvert, your passion is shown in your writing." So she was like, when I graduated, she gave me a stack of books, and Anne Frank has been the most meaningful, because that's the one that reminded me that it didn't matter my age, it did not matter my circumstance. I can absolutely write to change the world. So I absolutely love this book and treasure it, and will always treasure it. Mufara's Beautiful Daughter. I don't think you can be a Black child and not have a connection to Mufara's Beautiful Daughter. It is both a celebration of the author's work and also a condemnation of the country that we live in, especially kids who grew up in the 80s and 90s, that we didn't have representation in books that allowed us to see an array of who we are as Black children. So I am so thrilled now when I see all these different diverse books that represent life, the tapestry of, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, everything. And everybody has an opportunity to see themselves in those books. So Mufara's Beautiful Daughter is the one that did it for me as a child. And it will always continue to just remind me that I can hold my head up high. I'm going to spotlight a couple of others, most recent ones. So My Fly Felix in Me is by our friend here, Miss Jen. So tough topics are something that when you're talking to kids about, I love books that take topics that you're like, well, why would you talk to kids about careers? And then you put a spin on it and it just opens it up to a child, and they're learning, but they're not learning. So My Fly Felix, I won't spoil it, but basically he has a company and you're going in and actually applying to be part of the company. And it is just such a fun book. And and the creativity of it is just what I'm in awe of. The idea that you could take a very up there topic and then just break it down and just introduce it to children in a very fun way is something that I absolutely love. I won't take up all of the time, but I just wanted to spotlight a couple of these.
Okay. So these are some books that matter to me. And I have to start with A Walk to Remember by Nicholas Sparks. He's a North Carolina author. That book matters to me. It is a young adult book. I mean, adults can read it as well, but that's what sparked my adult world walking into writing. So I
Mm-hmm.
always have to bring a walk to remember. When I read Jamie's story, I said, I want to do that. I want to write a story. I want to write a novel. And so I always want to bring that one up. We both had John Steptoe. Did you see that? Because the story of Jumping Mouse is by John Steptoe as well.
Oh, okay.
And
Oh.
it is a Native American legend that I absolutely love, and I cry every single time that I read this book. And I found it when I was way back in college when we had to like read 500 children's books and make little note cards on them. It felt like 500. I mean, really, we had to do that for an assignment. It was one of the best assignments ever. I loved her, Dr. Dixon at UNC Pembroke. And we had to read all these children's books, and I found the story of Jumping Mouse, and I bought them for copies for my kids and signed them. My mom bought me a copy for me, and every single time I read that book, I break down and cry. I've read it to my students at school and cried. So books that matter to me are always going to be on my list forever. Just like Lucky Brilliant, it is from a Jewish author named Maureen Sherbandi. That was my book of the year last year. Absolutely loved that book. That one is for YA, but middle grades could read it as well. Katie Camillo, of course. Beverly right here is my favorite of the three rancheros, but I loved all of them. So you have to start with Raimi Nightingale, but that is a series that I think would really matter to young girls. Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. If you want to read an impactful, powerful book that is going to take you down the flights of an elevator and life choices and decisions and hard truths, that one will rock you and it will quiet you. It's just profound.
Oh my
Absolutely
goodness.
love Jason Reynolds. I have to talk about Other Words for Home for all of my ESL teachers out there. That book, you need to hug it. You need to go and find it and then hug it and share it. Absolutely amazing book. Daphne's Questionable Bet is for students who may be struggling with anxiety and they need a read that also deals with some tough issues, bullying and social media blackmailing and all of this stuff. But it's just such a read that will stay with you weeks after because of the support and the friendship group that she has, and they're so accepting of her and her anxiety. I just absolutely love that one. Big Old Bike, have to call that one out from Rachel Clark. She's one of our WWJs. This book is such a good book for students who are going into middle school. This at fourth grade, even guys, like these books, the ones that I'm throwing out here for you, these would be great family reads. And of course, I've got to bring up Ruby Bridges because Michelle is here. That book is needed in every home library and school library, and even high school students had an opportunity to see this book. And then one of my favorite series of all time is from Victoria Bond. I'm going to keep it on my list forever, and that's The Zora and Me from Zora Neale Hurston. Her foundation actually stamped an approval on this book, and it is super amazing. My favorite one was the last in the series, but you have to read them all. Like they're all so good. Okay, I'm moving on because I could
A
do it
lot of great
forever.
recommendations.
I could talk forever. But when you have a book, so you're reading a book, you get a kid's book, whether it's, a picture book, like if you give a mouse a cookie, or if it's a book, Other Words for Home, whatever that book is that you're reading, here are some things that we thought that you should consider when you're sharing books that matter to you. So, Michelle, if you want to touch on any of these, I can build around you if you would like to talk about anything off of here that kind of stands out.
Yeah, I think one of the really good ones is email authors, especially if they are indie authors. I think there's a misconception that there is a barrier between you and your favorite authors. There's not. Authors are, we are geeked out fans as well. Like we have our favorite writers that were just like, hey, do you know we exist? We love your book. You want to talk to us? So if you love the work, share it out. Let us know your thoughts, because we write for you, right, as a readers. Your feedback is very meaningful to us. So absolutely emailing authors. It's not that hard to find us. Most of us are either on our own website or on social media somewhere. You can reach out and just say, hey, this is why your book mattered to me, my child. This is what I've shared out. So please do. And I think another one is review everywhere. That is an absolute gift. You think about when you're picking up a book, and it's usually based off of a recommendation. It's somebody, just like Jen and I shared some of the books that mattered to us. Somebody probably said, hey, you should read this book. And then you pick it up and you're just like, yeah, I'm so glad I read this book. So basically, if you're reviewing us on whatever digital platform that you purchase your books, whether it's Amazon, Goodreads, or wherever you can leave a review, leave it, because the more that you share out, the more that other people will learn about your favorite author, and the more that they're able to keep on doing the work that they love, which is sharing their books with you. So.
And I want to bring up about creating images, because I've been following authors for a long time because, one, I just love their work. I like seeing how authors engage with their platforms. I use it as a learning tool. So while I'm following authors and I'm checking out their way that they're presenting books to the world, I was like, you know what? I need to do better, because all I was doing, guys, was like I was like, okay, I'm reading this book, and I take a picture. I'm reading this book. I take a picture, I put it up. I mean, that's fine. But then
Yeah.
you know what? I love Canva so much. So you guys are going to laugh. Y'all can go and look on my Instagram if you don't believe me, because I've kind of only made 2 of these. So I'm taking my own advice here, because I love Canva, and I'm like, I just put what I'm reading at the top, and I put the book cover, and I change the background really quick. Like, honestly, guys, 2 minutes. And I
Yeah.
have something better for that author than just me
Yeah.
going snapshot with my phone.
With your phone. Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
and so I felt like I could even do a better job at creating images when I'm sharing things out. But also, I do think it's important to keep reading lists. Keep your
Ooh,
list
yeah, good
and
idea.
keep them current too. So that's why I was like, talk about books that you loved as a child, because then you can be engaging with readers that are like within our age groups, books that they may have experienced growing up. But then also keep current lists and always cycle through those lists. Some that are going to stay on there forever, like The
Yeah.
Story of Jumpy Mouse, Zora and Me. Those books are going to stay on my list forever. But there are other books that I have cycled around, and
Yeah.
there's been a year for, okay, these are my books of the year. I started
Yeah.
changing because I have too many. Like, I have so many books that I absolutely love. So now I'm like, these are my favorite books of 2020. These are going to be my favorite books for 2021. And then my list is going to continue to grow. And then the next one, take notes as you're reading. Before you share out, always keep a notes place, a journal, Google Doc. So that way, not only are you keeping your list, you can ask
Yeah.
yourself some important questions as you're reading for research. So this is where we're going to switch. And now we're not going to just talk about sharing out for reader engagement, connecting with other readers, sharing your love out. Now we can talk about taking notes for research for your
Yeah.
author life. And so these are just 4 questions, and Michelle, we can add to these. As we're talking, we may come up with like 20,000 more.
Yeah.
But like question 1, when you're reading, find out what are the themes and topics that are currently being addressed in today's books. Kind of what is the pulse in kid lit today? What are you noticing? What are the thematic patterns that you're pulling from them. And you can
Mm-hmm.
start to build your list of themes that could be very important for you. For example, if you would take on a book about uh, bullying and how to overcome, those obstacles that kids may face when they're having to deal with bullies. Well, then while you're reading, you're making a list that you
Mm-hmm.
read The Big Old Bike by Rachel Clark. And then one day, and then each time you make a list, you've got those themes there. You've got
Yeah.
Rachel's book there. She would one day become your comp title if you
Yeah.
then decide, oh, wow, I feel, led to write this book and it's going to have these themes in it. I remember when I went and I was reading a book about themes. What was it called? You're going to forget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Make yourself a list of themes that you're seeing and put the titles there. And I think later on you will thank me for that when you're looking
Mm-hmm.
for titles of books that then you can share around the work that you're doing.
And
I
I
was
actually would, I
I was
wanted
going to
to
say
just,
add to it. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of two sides of the same coin because you also want to look at what's not there, because you have a perspective that you might be bringing that is not being, highlighted at the moment. And then just see what's missing, whether it's a particular theme or from the perspective, like the um, example that Jen gave about bullying. Maybe it's bullying, but maybe it's, bullying from a different lens that you have that just isn't there on the landscape. So keep alert, and keep aware of that. And then you can do additional research to see, okay, has anybody tried it? Maybe it's not this year, maybe it was a prior year, but that's something that is always when I'm writing and when I'm kind of figuring out themes, as I'm writing, I kind of keep an eye out for that too.
Oh, good, good. Question number 2, when you're thinking about the characters that you're being introduced in these books that you're reading, especially those books that matter to you, what was it about that authentic
Mm-hmm.
voice that just captured you? What made you
Mm-hmm.
champion that character? And then if there's the bad guy, what made you loathe them? Like, what was it about their, actions, their motivations, the development of that character that really spoke to your spirit and said, this is a book that matters. Other people, I'm about to recommend this book. Well, break it
Mm-hmm.
down, take notes, find out about the characters. What was it about them?
Mm-hmm.
You got anything on the characters? Like, what do you look for in characters, Michelle?
I think you captured it all. Yeah, that authentic voice, and characters are going to emotionally connect with you or not. And if they're emotionally connecting with you, like consider like the emotions that they're invoking. So maybe this character makes you laugh or this character makes you cry. The best characters do both. Um, or this character reminds you of some aspect of your life, maybe your childhood. Like all of those things, good writers bring out memories, I think, and they do that through emotions. And the way that you're going to be able to kind of replicate that is to really be aware in yourself as you're reading, like what is this character invoking in me, and then why is it, what's the connection, and then as you're going to write, start thinking about like what do I want my readers to feel, and that will help.
Love it, love it. Question number 3, what made you fall in love with the book? Like, that sounds like a simple question, but like, you fell in love with that book to put it on your
Uh-huh.
list. What stood out? Why did it matter to you? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's peeling off that layer. And I do think that's that emotional appeal too that Michelle was talking about. Not only do the characters make you feel that way, but then that complete story, what was it? What gave you that spark with that book that ignited that love? To me, that's an important question that we need to consider while we're reading and then while we're sharing out. That'll give us a lot more to engage with our readers, but it'll also help us to shape kind of who we are as a writer.
Mhm.
Um, and
Yeah, like
question.
that you're oh, go ahead.
Go
No,
ahead.
I
I
was
keep
just saying
saying,
that I that I love what you were saying about the entire book. So if you give a mouse a cookie has been a favorite of mine forever. Like it's just I recently picked it up and reread it and I'm like, okay, I still love this book just as much. And the hilarious thing is I hate mouse. I hate mice. I hate rodents. Like I cannot. Oh my god, they just scare me. Like I have. Ah, I'm panicking just thinking about one being anywhere near me. But this mouse is so irreverent. He is just like, oh, I'm in your house, and of course you would want me to have this cookie, but I'm thirsty, so of course you're gonna want to give me milk. And you just like he just like oblivious. He just thinks that he's welcome, so he feels comfortable that you're his friend, so he can just be in your house. And when you think about books, you're going to think about all the different aspects. So think about some of the books that have stayed with you for so many years and just try to think about, okay, what would make my book stay with somebody for that long? But yeah.
love it. Okay, question number 4. This is going to be the teacher lens right now. So, for those of you who are just catching the video, if you didn't get the beginning bio part, I'm a literacy coach, but I'm also a teacher. I'm K-12 certified and I'm also reading specialist. So, when I look at writing, I also, especially for the K-12 audiences, I
Mm-hmm.
also ask question number 4, what are some standards or topics that are addressed in classrooms today that are
Mm-hmm.
around their curriculum that you would
Mm-hmm.
be able to possibly learn from and be able to integrate or supplement within the work that you're doing, or at least build educational materials around your work, connecting with
Mm-hmm.
other books that matter.
Yeah.
So that way you can bring, well, if you like this one book, then you can have these 3 others that you can then do read alouds with in your classroom that are kind of on the
Mm-hmm.
same topics and standards. And you
Mm-hmm.
could go, for example, I'm going to call out North Carolina right now, but you could go to the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction and you can look up their curriculum, their standard course of study. You can go
Mm-hmm.
straight to their standards for their grade levels, and you can look at each one by grade level of what are some of the topics that are addressed in science and social studies, for example, if you're wanting to get an angle that way. So, like, for example, one of my friends right now, she's working with a publisher, and they're getting ready to release a book in the
Mm-hmm.
summertime. Well, because that book is science themed and it's
Mm-hmm.
also health themed, she could look at both of those standards and see how she can integrate those when she's talking about her book. And so while
Mm-hmm.
you're out reading, if you find books that deal with social studies themes, biographies, when you're looking at science topics, when I was working on my weather book, I knew that I needed to look at what grade level would be appropriate for that book. So when I was working vocabulary, I needed to
Mm-hmm.
introduce it to a certain level of student. So if you ever have questions about standards or topics addressing in a classroom, reach out to local teachers. Actually, like
Oh,
email
that's a good
teachers
one.
and say,
Yeah.
hey, I'm working on a book. What do you think? Could you help me kind of look over this? Could your class be a beta reader for me? Um,
Oh my goodness, that's so great.
yeah, I would love to share behind the scenes of my author book. Would you have time
Yeah.
maybe for a story time? Could you just quick glance and let me know if you feel like the vocabulary is appropriate for your classroom?
Mhm.
If you feel like these would be topics that could be shared within a classroom within your grade level, or do you have another teacher that you could recommend? And look at your local school district right there that you could partner with and collaborate with. So
Mhm.
that's one for question 4. And
I
now,
didn't even.
oh,
Oh
go ahead,
no,
Michelle.
I was gonna say you. I just learned something new. That's such a great idea about reaching out and asking if a teacher would have their class be a beta reader.
I actually love that so much with Brinkley Makes Headlines. I
Hmm.
did that and I did a Google Meet with a classroom in
Oh
a
my
county
goodness.
far away, and the class had an opportunity to read it with me and
Oh,
then provide feedback with me. It was just so invaluable. Guys, I can't tell you how much I love that experience.
oh, that's really great.
So that's just one of the questions, though, that if you're unsure about, you go to the state website and you go, wait, this state website is overwhelming. You can also reach out to your local teachers and media specialists and literacy coaches in schools. All right, so now we're moving on to talking about the author world. And I'm just going to say writing routines matter. They matter. Um, One
Yeah.
thing out of here, I love doing the writing sprints. Michelle and I have done some writing sprints. I'm so
Hmm.
productive when I get to write with you.
Just yeah.
Like, find a writing partner, find a buddy that you could write with, or watch along with writing sprints online. Tish Bouvier, she has her own, 5 a.m. early
It's one of
mornings.
my favorites. Yeah.
She's writing. Guys, look up writing sprints, and that's just a fun way for you to get some productivity. That's the one
Yeah.
I want to talk about with the writing routines. You want to talk about anything on this one or
Um,
any of them?
Finding your method for write your way. Okay, so I am a pantser by nature. I have tried my best to plan and plan and plan. I've read all of the planning books, um, approached my work from that perspective, and I've I've spent so much time planning that I have not been writing. So what I have had to learn is to take what works for you, because just because planning works for another writer doesn't mean that it would work for you if you're a pantser. It doesn't mean that it won't. Uh, but you have to recognize when you're struggling with trying to put on somebody else's pants. And when that doesn't work, take the things that do. And if it helps, so for me as a pantser, part of the planning that has worked for me is doing a rough timeline. So making sure that in each of my chapters, from start to finish, I know what the timeline is like, because as a pantser, when I was working on Accepting Elijah's Heart, the book takes place over a year. Because I hadn't planned out the timeline, I had to go back and be like, well, she was pregnant for 9 months. How old is this baby now? So for me, I found this helpful, but other aspects of planning are too restrictive. And I had to be okay with, even though it's worked for all of the writers that I respect, um, who are very prolific writers and who give classes, it just it does not work for me in the same way. So finding your own method is going to be a matter of trial and error. And if the advice from the experts don't work for you, that's fine. Trust yourself.
And then just try out different methods until you say, wait, that didn't work. Go on to, don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
There. Another one is to share what's happening with others as you're writing. I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's important for you to be able to build your base because,
Mm-hmm.
when you're going through struggles, you're not the only one out there that may be going through these same things. And when you're having joy and joyful moments and things are clicking and working in your story, share that
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah.
So I think that sharing is something that is very important for us as authors, not to wait and say, oh, I wrote a book. It's published. Here it
And
is.
then it's done. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, no, hey, I'm starting to write a book. I'm on my first
Uh-huh.
chapters, and oh wow, this is happening in my
Yeah.
life. Share
Mm-hmm.
it out. Share it out. Oh, that was yours.
Oh, and I think we've captured some of the same things. Speaking of sharing out, I have wear a crown here. Some days the words are gonna come, other days they won't, and you just have to be just creative and flexible with the way that you just deal with it. For me, there's been times when I've literally gone under my desk because I'm just like, I can't write sitting here. So I take my pen and paper and I just go sit under my desk and doodle until some words come. Or very recently, I threw on a crown because, and if you don't own a crown, everybody should own a crown. You can find one for cheap, just grab one. It makes you feel a lot better. I just, I threw it on, threw on my makeup, wore my PJs, and then just started writing. Did it help get the words out initially? No, but what it did, it got the pressure off of me to try to create. And then it just made me laugh at myself and relax. And then eventually the words started flowing. So yeah, just from Jen's last slideshow as well was have fun with the writing process.
And for me, I never thought that I would ever be a person that would plan things out because I was a pantser for so long. And then I found the 3-act structure image that you're seeing in front of you. I did not create this. I found it online and I was like, oh, wow, this makes really like perfect sense for me. So if you guys have been to some of my other YouTube videos, I was like trying to plan out Love Over Pizza this way. So I will let you know, I did my sticky notes. I got all the way up. Oh, there's some obstacles. There's disasters. And then we're all down at the end. I'm like, oh, okay, the book is planned. I got it. And when I actually wrote the book, it took a lot of different dives and turns and roller coaster loops. And it was completely half of this 3-act structure that I wrote. It's not even on there. It's like, wait, what? No. Her parents? No, she didn't have any. No. And what? They're supposed to have this dance? No. Then it was no. So just because I started out with this, it gave me this sense of at least I kind of knew a direction that I could go with the story. But then I had to trust that process and honor that blank page and say, okay, now that the story has started, if it does go a different way, I am so happy about that. I don't like just crumple and fall apart and say, wait, you've got to follow the 3-act structure. No, not like that. But I will say that at the beginning now, I have found that this has been helpful for at least just getting kind of a roadmap out. And then understand that I could be taking not wrong turns because I don't look at it as a wrong turn, but I could be taking some meaningful detours along the way that actually get my story to where it's supposed to be. But I did want to share this because I have found out of all the other types of structures out there, I just love the way that this one is set up visually. And I kind of follow it and then don't follow it at all. That's
Take what works and then leave others.
Yes. And so in looking at how you can now, once you've written the book, once you've shared out other people's books, you're going to continue to share out other people's books. But then how are you going to help to engage with readers of your own work? So look at these with some low commitment, medium commitment, and then some high commitment pieces that you might be able to integrate. And you can screenshot this, pause it, and you can say, okay, I might be able to, start a newsletter. But if you start a newsletter, the reason why it's in high commitment is because your newsletter inbox every month, at least once a month, send out that newsletter. It's not like you send a newsletter once a year. Then it would go to low commitment. So kind of look at some of these. I don't know if there's anything you would like to talk about. I know I want to brag about you, Michelle, with one on a medium commitment. So save that one for me, number one. I just could tell y'all to talk about number one.
I'm kind of curious about Package Your Story, actually. I would love for you to unwrap that a little bit.
So when you're thinking about your story, how are you going to present it to the world? Think about your elevator pitch. Think about the short way that you're going to talk about your book. That takes time. You might think that's easy. coming up with your pitches, with your one sentence, hurrah, with formulating the summary, how can you really share and take, whether it's a middle grades book, a YA, or a picture book, and really tighten that up to when you are expressing yourself, you
Right.
are connecting the heart of that story to that person that can receive that.
That
So
makes
when
sense.
you think about it, that does take time. That's not a low
Absolutely.
commitment thing.
No, not at all.
That's intention. That's an
Mm-hmm.
intentional commitment that you have to make with your story, then to be able to package it and then
Yeah.
share it out. And I think that that's a really important piece that I have struggled with when I had to do that for one of my novels this past month. It was like, okay, share X, Y, and Z from A to Z, share it, and we need it by Thursday. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do it. And so I stayed up late, super late,
Yeah.
trying to do it with everything else I've got going on. And I'm like, but it's so important. It's like, that's how they're packaging my story.
Yeah.
And that made me think about, those are some things that I need to be spending my time on. So when that time comes, I've already had all of that already worked out.
Yeah, it's actually really funny because you want that for each story that you've written. Yeah.
You would
Yeah.
think I would have
So
known that, right? Yeah.
it takes a little while to sink in.
I know I want to talk about school visits. Loved school visits that I've been a part of. And I also love bringing people into my school to be able to share their stories. And so I want to show you guys. Look. So as we
Oh,
see, that's Michelle up at the top, and she had an opportunity to have a school visit and talk about Ruby Bridges. And you can see some of the quotes, some of the feedback. She's amazing. Love the enthusiasm. My students were thankful. We paused to join. She was great. We need her back. So you can see that number one, school visits. Now, I call that a medium commitment. What do you call it, Michelle?
I think your first one is going to be a high commitment. It's school visits, also think library visits, because my very first one was for the Clifton Public Library in New Jersey, which is the biggest library system in New Jersey. And it took a very long time because you want to make sure that you're adding value to the kids who are going to be spending time with you. And especially depending on the venue, well, even if it's library or school, you're also visiting with the teachers, with the administrators. You're not only visiting with the kids. So trying to connect with different types of audiences, different ages, and really just respecting the fact that they invited you into their space and they want to hear from you. What do they need? And what can you bring from the work that you've been doing? So if you'll have somebody who is your contact, usually either you're pitching to an administrator or a literacy coach, a librarian, or somebody has invited you. Whoever that person is who's your contact, it's helpful to try to find out like what are the things that the kids relate to most. Maybe ask for some information about the school. At a minimum, definitely Google the school to get an understanding of who they are, what they do, what anything recent is. You just are trying to remember that you're connecting with people first. And then from that connection, you can share your story. But really remember that there is an audience there. And whatever you're going to do, you need to bring value to them.
And so that is a high commitment to begin with, then. I might need to move that over there.
As a start, it's definitely a high commitment, but I think the more that you get comfortable doing it, it moves. Yes.
So the school visit piece, don't be nervous about emailing because you've already packaged your story, right? You've got
Mhm.
your story, you've got it already packaged. You're a champion of your story, and it's getting it into the hands of teachers, readers,
Mhm.
specialists, librarians. And so reaching out to staff, building yourself that pitch letter, um,
Mhm.
that is something that you can do. And that's when I've like email schools and homeschool groups. Those are low
Yeah.
commitments. Like connect
Mhm.
with libraries, just connect. Just start reaching out. Just say I'm a local author or, I'm an author in the state. You can start very small. You can go to your state, then you can branch out. Um, and then you can build connections with people, other authors, and you could say, hey, do you want to pitch with me? Maybe we could do a tag team because you guys have similar
Absolutely.
topics. Like if you are very introverted and you go, wait, school visits, that's not
Mhm.
for me
Yep.
because I'm really introverted. But you may have a friend that's more extroverted and you guys are very passionate about children's books and what you
Mhm.
do. And together you could make a dynamic team and you could practice that together. I would really encourage you for number 6 to do this, and I believe it's a medium commitment. Number 6, hold book related events to celebrate. So that
Mm.
way, teachers, librarians, when they go to find you, there's something there.
That's interesting. Okay.
Because if I'm going online and I want to research someone
Yeah.
and I'm considering bringing them into my space, like, Michelle said, if they've already
Mhm.
got YouTube videos that are like motivational YouTube clips, or they've
Mhm.
got these little clips talking about books they love,
Yeah.
I can kind of get a feel for that person. I can
Absolutely.
see their collection. I can also share that work with my staff. I can say, oh, this person's done, other videos. You can check them
Mhm.
out. So I would really encourage you to hold book related events online on YouTube or stream, or just build
Mhm.
up yourself so that way when someone Googles you, you
Yep.
cover that Google page.
That makes sense.
Um, I don't know. I think
Oh,
that
and oh,
okay.
no, I wanted to just say one last thing about the school visits. Um, you might think that maybe your work could only um, be applicable to a certain age group. So Ruby Bridges is written for fourth to fifth graders. So for school visit, the school visit that I did for the Clifton Public Library, I was focused on that age group, and the spin that I took on it was completely different from the spin that I took on it when I was speaking with the high schoolers. So your book has different themes that can resonate with different ages. Figure out what those themes are. So for Ruby Bridges, for the older kids, I focused on the idea, the craft and the business of writing, and using Ruby Bridges as kind of like the foundation. So just think of your books and pull out different themes that could resonate with different age groups.
Love it. And then just stay current. Just stay
Mm-hmm.
present. Be present online. Update your website. Keep yourself active.
Update
So,
your website.
yeah, I didn't actually have Love Over Pizza on my website. I was like, wait, I'm promoting it. I'm having an event. I'm having, contest. I'm doing all of this. And then you go to my website and you see Sweet Potato John's there. And I'm like, I love you, Sweet Potato. You're going to stay there because you're my first
Mhm.
girl. You got to stay there. I'm not going to move
Mhm.
you, kick you to the curb, but I do have to add Love Over Pizza, right? So I'm talking to myself here when I say stay current and update your website. And now, if you go to my website, you'll see Love Over Pizza. You'll see the book trailer and all of that. Those were low commitment things for me, but I sometimes have to remind myself. But that's why I just got a calendar yesterday, so it's going to say on this calendar. It's a pretty calendar. I can't wait to show it to y'all.
Nice.
And it's blank right now because I haven't filled it in, but it's actually going to get filled in. And it's going to say, update your website, check your website.
Yeah.
So yeah, need that. I need the reminders. And so one of my favorite quotes The brick walls are there to show
Mhm.
us how badly we want something. Um,
Yeah,
this is a daily grind for me as an
it
author
is. Yes, it absolutely is.
because if I'm not doing something that's author related, then
Mhm.
I'm doing something reading related or research related that then ties back into the author related. So you could all
Yeah.
kind of say every day is author related. Um, I was reading a book this morning and it was for a future podcast that I'm going to have. And the reason why I'm having that podcast is to connect with people more in a genre that I'm interested in writing in. And so it's like
Mm,
always
yeah.
something. But
Mm.
if I have all these walls in front of me, I got to go. I got to keep going. I'm going to hop over 'em. My friends, Michelle, everybody's going to help push me over them. We're going to break through them
Yeah.
because this is something that I want. And I want it
Mhm.
badly because I care so much and I know that books matter.
Yeah.
I know that stories matter. Whether it's my story, it's someone's story and it's going to
Yeah.
matter. So if my platform can be used for good for someone else, then I'm satisfied.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we can talk about
Yeah.
books forever. Um, connect with us here as our stuff if you want to connect. If you have any additional questions for us, um, we would love to talk with you. Uh, there's our stuff. Screenshot it. Go find us now. You can pause it and then just go over Instagram, Twitter. You can email us. Check out our websites. You'll see current stuff there.
No, you won't. I would be lying because my two most recent sweet romances are definitely nowhere on the site.
Yeah, you're going to go like do it really fast. You can just do it.
I won't tell anybody, but
Yo, I just did it. Do you know when I did mine? Listen, I was giving this presentation on February the 13th. This was
oh my goodness.
last Saturday, and it
Yeah,
said update your website regularly.
like
And I was like,
oh.
I'm about to go on in like an hour. And I go to my website and I updated it. So I was like,
Oh, goodness.
lesson learned. Lesson learned, Jen. So trust me, I was doing it like right then Saturday. And we'd already had the party. We'd already had the pizza party on the 7th and everything.
Like, oh.
So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You're
So
gonna
when
have
I
those
was,
things. It's
oh
okay.
yeah. And you just laugh about it. You laugh about it and you keep going.
Uh-huh.
So, guys, I want to draw
Oh
your
my
attention.
goodness!
Look at the link tree at the top. I'm going to have this in the description.
Yay!
You see that beautiful lady in yellow? That's Michelle. She's going to be presenting at the Writing Warriors for Jesus Youth Summit on May 22nd. This is a free writers conference. So
That's
grab youth
excited.
authors, grab adult children's authors from
Mhm.
K-12 and join us for a day of writing and talking about Jesus all day.
Yeah,
So
look at
we,
the amazing lineup.
yes, cannot wait. And if you go to at Jesus Writing on Facebook, that's our Writing Warriors for Jesus conference page. You'll have
Mhm.
the banner here that you can share out, but we are going to start kind of like doing bios. It's just a little
Mhm.
early, but I'm so excited. I can't wait. So I wanted you guys to at least see the banner and know that it's coming. You can go ahead and register for the May 22nd event. You don't have to register. It is going to be live streamed on Facebook and YouTube. But if you do register, then your name goes in. We can have your emails. You could get the newsletters from the WWJs, and you can stay up to date with contests and giveaways as well. So,
Absolutely. Yay!
yay, yay.
Woo!
And there's our slides. And guess what? Was never
Oh,
able to see any of the
oh,
chat.
yeah, I was trying to jump in to just let you know somebody had said one Hoover had mentioned loving that book. I think one of the books that you were showing before, and then loving the beautiful quote, Joanna
Uh,
Simon. Aw,
See, we
and
see
then
it now. We
I
see it.
know.
So when I share my screen, I couldn't even see you. And you know how I need to kind of see your face so I don't cut it.
Yeah. It's
I
okay.
lost everything. All I could see was a
Oh
big old
my goodness.
screen. But
Yeah, I was trying to see how to show it on, but I think you can only have one presenter. There's no co-presenter.
yeah. Yeah. I'm going to email school
And
tomorrow. Yeah.
oh, I was gonna say, and good. What are you writing? Good luck with it. She
Yes.
said that she was writing while listening.
Good. Good, Anne.
Yeah, way to be productive.
So, guys, we want to thank you for joining us. Our hour is up. So, stay tuned. WWJs are going to be back. So, in March, we'll have a mini session like this, a working session. And then I know April, Anne is going to be working with us on Poetry Month. So, WWJs, we have Anne, myself, and we have Tish Bouvier that write poetry, and we all have poetry books that are published. So that's our focus for April. So,
Awesome.
oh, Anne just said she's working on her Christian romantic suspense while she's listening to us talk about kids' books.
Nice.
Yay! I'm so glad you joined us, Anne.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Michelle, love you.
Love you too. Oh, I just meant I'm gonna be jumping on Twitter at 9 o'clock. If anybody is a hearty out there, it's the premiere of When Calls the Heart. So come and chat.
Yay. All right. Bye, guys.
All right.